You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
And also tonight we have netball commentary for you. And let's go to netball now. The Silver Ferns have got their Netball World Cup off to a flying start. A 76-27, I'd say thrashing, would you? Yeah. Beating victory over Trinidad and Tobago. Grayson Weke in the shooting circle, 31 from 31. Maya Wilson slotted 22 from 24. All of the players got a run in this game, all 12 of New Zealand's players with rotation and different combinations tried out. Let's bring in former Silver Ferns coach and now netball commentator and analyst Yvonne Willering. She's alongside Malcolm Jordan in our netball commentary on Gold Sport. We have every Silver Ferns game live for you. Yvonne, thanks for joining us. What did we learn about the Silver Ferns last night, if anything?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed commentating the game. And, you know, the first quarter, 23-2 to the Silver Ferns. And you'd think then you go, oh, no, where's this game going? But to be fair, Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, they had a slow start because they got caught basically watching the Ferns in action. Couldn't do anything to adapt to the speed, and certainly defensively, because New Zealand was playing very much a space marking style, they couldn't adapt. But as the game progressed, they certainly did do that, and the second half was a much better performance from Trinidad and Tobago. But just to answer your question, it's a good outing for the Ferns. Everyone got to play. There was lots of substitutions actually by both teams, which you would not have happen if they were closely contested games. So certainly everyone got a run, and I guess it's just an opportunity to get that first game under your belt.
Do you think that rotation will continue for the remaining two pool games against Uganda tonight and Singapore?
Probably not so much against Uganda, but the answer initially I would have said yes, because it's a situation, you know, I mean, look at some of the scores, and that's why I've said right from the start, you know, it should be a top 8, bottom 8, and then have your turnovers from there. But, you know, its indication is that, oh, no, players want to play against the top teams. But the way the draw is right now, you're not going to play everybody, and I think that everyone that's of note, you know what I mean? And I think that's sad. So some of the scores were unbelievable. I mean, they've got a situation, Jamaica, Sri Lanka, 105-25, you know, and then you've got Australia, 86, Zimbabwe, 30. I thought actually Zimbabwe wasn't bad. So you can't take these scores too much into account. But what I was saying, though, Uganda, that's who New Zealand is playing tonight. That'll give us a bit better indication. And I don't think there's going to be as many rotating players in this game. They beat Singapore 79-37. So they got 79 goals, which means they have got structure to their game. So, yeah, I'm hoping, obviously we don't want a close encounter against Uganda, but I think it'll be a reasonable game, and New Zealand will benefit more from this. Because you indicated, the shooting stats, how accurate. Yes, absolutely the Ferns were accurate, but keep it in perspective, defensively they didn't have a lot of they didn't have players like, for instance, guarding the shot and, and really making it tough for our shooters. Similarly, when that ball was fed to our shooters, it wasn't under pressure, which enabled them basically to take a good shot. So I am sure that Dame Nolene Taurua will keep this game very much in perspective.
If we break down the quarters, you mentioned the first quarter last night, Yvonne, 23-2, but then you look at the third quarter, 15-9, a lot closer. What happened immediately after half-time?
Yep, absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. Trinidad and Tobago improved as the game went on, and I think some of the Ferns players got caught watching the score, and some players, they can't help themselves. They're quite score-driven, so that when the game is close, you can see the intensity picks up. That should not happen, because last night's game, what they were looking for as a team is the actual performance. They were always going to win the game, so it was about performance out on court, and that's where where every player needed to step up and take responsibility, but also as a collective unit. Because I think the Ferns' strength is as a collective unit. And initially, particularly defensively, they really had structures in place, and they got the intercepts that they obviously were looking for. But as the game went on, they became a little bit lax in that. And it was interesting because Berger got player of the game, and she actually acknowledged those players around her. And that is what I think is the Silver Ferns' strength, their unit work, and I think they deviated from that, particularly in that second half. And I know that Dame Nolene Taurua indicated that whilst there were good patches, that game, if you just look at that game, and I'm not trying to be hard on them, but if they played exactly like that for that duration, they would not beat Australia.
All right. Kelly Jury, we saw her play at wing defence in the third quarter. How do you think she went?
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, and Malcolm Jordan, my co-commentator, he went nuts about that as well, And it was a situation, and I understand where he's coming from, and I understand where some of the general public will be coming from. Kelly Jury hasn't played wing defence throughout the whole ANZ competition. Here you go to a world championship, and suddenly she's thrown in the wing defence position, and she's learning as she goes. And I guess, against these, and you may see her again tonight as well in that position. I think the main reason, you're going to have to ask Dame Nolene. She's going to say, we want variety. Well, we want to come out with something different. And I agree with her on that aspect, but you need your best in the best position when it comes to the crunch games, and we all know who the crunch players are. But she would be there, again, with she wants to tick all the boxes. Dame Nolene Taurua wants to tick all the boxes, which means that, for instance, take Australia, for example. If their wing attack is really dominant and is very fast and can beat the likes of Berger and Heffernan, who would probably be a main wing defences. So if they get outplayed, then that's an opportunity, and I can see this, where you put Kelly Jury into the wing defence position, because with her height and her width, she would get over that attacking player. And even if she just puts her hands all over the player, it would make it tough for the opposition. And I think they are looking towards that. Not necessarily that she's going to be one of the main wing defences. I don't believe that. I think that she would be used if things go wrong. And we'd like to think, obviously, that any substitutions that are made for the Silver Ferns is all tactical and all for the positive reasons and not negative reasons.
Yvonne, do you think that Dame Nolene Taurua knows her best starting seven for the big games at the back end of the tournament, or do you think there are positions she still has to settle upon?
The answer to that would be no. I actually don't think she has a main seven, and I don't think she wants a main seven. I think you'll find that for different games, she will have different combinations. Like last night, I indicated that everyone would play, but I assumed that they would be playing in combination. And the Ferns do have a lot of different combinations, both in attack and defence, and actually also through the mid-court. But last night, certainly towards the end, there were combinations that were being played that I don't believe that she would play against the tough sides. But this is not going to be about a main seven. And you have a look at it, Okay, an example is Berger. Berger can play goal defence and she can play wing defence. Which position is she best at? Most of us will still say wing defence, but boy, when she's in the goal defence position with either Watson or Jury, that is a wonderful combination. Heffernan can play centre or wing defence, and I think she's equal in both positions. So, yeah, I like the fact that they haven't got a main seven. Other end of the court, I think it's a little bit more predictable. Grace Nweke, I believe, is the main goal shooter, and the main goal attack will be Ignacio. But if, for instance, Grace Nweke is marked out of the game, appreciating she's quite a stationary shooter and only shoots from underneath the post, well, then you've got the combination of Wilson in the back, because she provides something different. And we've also seen Ignacio go into goal shooter, because she's very much a moving shooter. So, yeah, I like the fact that they haven't got a set 7 players.
All right. What did you think of the Silver Ferns silver playing strip last night?
I know. Yeah, I know. When I looked at that, I'm going, you're kidding me. And yeah, I guess it was a little, that is their alternate strip, obviously. It didn't suit, but wasn't it interesting? I think it was Ekanasio was really quick to point out that was the only game that they'll be wearing that, and they're back to their black tonight, you know. And when it first came out with that, I'm going, what? What is this? It had a little bit of black in it, to be fair, you know. But yeah, we always talk about silver, and I'm going, no, we want gold, actually. But
yes, indeed.
It was interesting. It was a bit of a shock, but it certainly didn't affect their performance. But keep the game in perspective. It was a great start, absolutely. But have a look at some of the other teams, their results as well. I mean, England, Barbados, that was 90-29. So, you know, big scores by the leading teams. Closest game probably in that top sector, South Africa versus Wales, and that was 61-50. But, you know, apart from that, it's a definite, like, top four, and then the other people. I'll tell you, Fiji is a team, though, that'll be hurting from last night's game. Tonga managed to beat them, and Tonga, and some people will know, Kat Tuivaiti is in that team, as is Monia Gerard. So these are two what you call fossils, or very experienced players. And Tonga won that game 56-51, and that was a joy to watch. Actually, it's just so nice to see some of these countries coming through. And it's a shame that they're on different courts. They like at the Netball World Cup, there's two courts, and for instance, like Tonga was playing at exactly the same time as the New Zealand game, so that's a bit sad.
Yvonne, great to get your thoughts on Game 1. Look forward to your call with Malcolm tonight on what is set to be a tougher assignment for the Silver Ferns when they take on Uganda. Appreciate you joining us on the show.
No, pleasure. Looking forward to the game.
Yeah, we are too. Thanks, Yvonne. Yvonne Willering there, part of our commentary of all Netball World Cup games involving our Silver Ferns. 76-27 over Trinidad and Tobago last night.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.